Peter's no longer calling, do you think his op performance was good enough now that he's not the IGL? He's not trying to double up on that role. I mean, we saw him win a couple duels there when we got into the the middle of the game to the end.
Yeah, he did win a couple of duels. Had some relative amount of impact. I think did well enough, but overall, they have more than just their individual performances as a team to work on. So that being said, it's beyond just one player.
All right, well, let's see what our analysts think. Again, a couple more rounds to go over. So right back down to Scoots, Hiko, and Thorin.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. So Na'Vi moves forward. Luminosity falls down to the lower bracket. They will obviously take on the loser of Virtus Pro and Tempo Storm, which that match is still going on. I believe Virtus Pro won the first map.
I believe so.
But that is still going on the secondary stream. Again, not a whole lot to break down there. They're going to play a few replays of some stuff that went down. But again, they take it 2-0. First game, very much Na'Vi's favorite. Second game, 16-8. Couple rounds back-to-back. But just didn't quite put it together.
Yeah, I mean, the second map does too. I think Na'Vi won the first half like 10-5. And as you can see here, Na'Vi started on CT side. Obviously, it took Luminosity a long time to actually get back into it. And those 3 rounds in a row you saw in second half, you really saw our PTR and Pit really starting to pick it up. PTR started to hit more of his op shots. It seemed like they were starting to get more into the groove of things. Unfortunately, the beast that is Na'Vi were too much to handle.
Yeah, and again, just watching them, like no emotion, like just another day in the office. Didn't get upset, didn't get excited, didn't like stone face over there.
The problem is Na'Vi is also not one of the European teams who tends to get upset. They're the type of team who people who are below them, they just beat them routinely. It's only teams that are above that can really contend for. Whereas some of the other NA teams, or European teams rather, like an Envious, occasionally even some of the other ones like Fnatic have sometimes been upset. They could drop a map here and there. Na'Vi, they were always going to handle business, especially because, like we said, Dust 2 wasn't even it's not even one of their top 3 or 4 maps at the moment. In theory, it's the map you should have a chance on, and Guardian still gets 24 kills on you, and they still are always in control of this match. They were never really in position to worry. That's why I think so many rounds were given up to LG. Now, LG had to take those rounds. You get the opportunity, it doesn't mean you can always take it, but Na'Vi always knew they were in the driving seat of this game.
Anything to add to that?
I mean, just look at Guardian. I mean, he really just went off. Him and Zeus, both Zeus almost 100 ADR, Guardian above 118. Not a surprise that Guardian was going off. I mean, obviously it's great to see him back in form. He, as we talked about earlier, he definitely, the last couple of events, he's been, not playing up to his maximum potential. Now, looks like, at least for the first match against an American team, he looks solid. Maybe, hopefully that'll keep translating into the next matches.
Yeah, just seeing the lovely crowd here. Didn't have a whole lot to cheer for. 11 rounds for the North American team, but don't worry, guys. Cloud9's coming later. Just hang in there.
And here comes the replay. So round 9. Let's see here.
This should be a Na'Vi win.
Yeah.
Diffuse apparently, so let's have a look. See, he's going to get a bunch of kills. Playing the box well, but he does get killed. 2v3 situation. I mean, we know the terrorists lose this, so we'll just see how they lose it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, with an AWP, that's going to be a really hard position to play behind that box there, because he's so up close. Basically, once you miss that shot, he actually hits it, but does die. And that's a 1v1. That dink there pretty much is it. And yeah, Guardian, an all-round player. He really good with the pistols. For an AWPer, above average rifles, but amazing with the rifles, obviously, and a really, really fast shot.
Yeah, and if anything, a little too late for those guys when they're warm up.
All in all, though, on that map, there was a bright spot, which was Peter did have another good performance against the European team on Dust 2, which has been his trademark. He did it at the ESL 1 Katowice, Hellraisers. He did it against LDLC, now Envious, when he was at MLGX Games Aspen, and now here. They didn't win, but he accounted for himself respectably, I think.
Yeah, and again, they're not out yet. Again, double elimination. Again, they're going to have to play, well, probably Tempo Storm. Yep. So they probably win that.
They've got a good chance
who knows on that? But then they're still going to end up either Na'Vi or Virtus Pro again. So not an easy road for these guys.
But that's the thing. In most normal tournaments, in the old-fashioned style, think about the majors work. You maybe only get 2 best-of-1s to play. Even if you don't get out of your group here, you might get 2 best-of-3s against European teams here. So you're getting a lot more play. going to be at least 4 maps there, maybe another 2. So you can get maybe 6 maps out of your group play. So even for the underdog teams, it can be a beneficial system, I think.
All right, well, let's shift gears. We'll go into detail of it when we come back from the break, but our next match is going to be Cloud9 CLG. Safe to say the battle of the 2 best North American teams?
Yes, I think so. CLG and Liquid, as we said earlier, probably tied for that second spot. CLG with the stand-in, not their in-game leader, probably not the same CLG we're used to seeing, but I think Cloud9 will have the advantage here.
I mean, yeah, taking into account with an asterisk, CLG has Sancts instead of FNS, but on paper, yeah, that's the lineup. And obviously, that's an interesting thing because CLG themselves usually get wrecked by Cloud9 in the matchup. So, hey, maybe not having that in-game leader and having to play a looser style, maybe playing a puggish style. I think some of the maps, Dust 2 is a map that Cloud9 loves to play. I could see Dust 2 Inferno being in the pool, and maybe there's a chance for CLG there. Maybe they just go and try and pug it, make it an aim fest.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to jump into Group A. Again, Cloud9 taking on CLG, Battle in North America, after the break. Welcome back, folks. Here we are at the MLG Arena for the CEVO Season 7 LAN Finals. 8 teams with us, 3 from Europe, representing the CEVO division in Europe, and 5 from North America. I got Hiko, I got Thorin. I couldn't be happier. Bittersweet for you, this matchup. Obviously, your ex-teammates. Maybe a little bit of bad blood there. I don't know, maybe you're all buddies, maybe you all have drinks every night, I don't know. And then CLG. So, like we talked about before the break, definitely the battle of the #1 North American team taking on #2, #3, right? But like as you mentioned, without their strat call.
Yeah.
So, general overall thoughts before we know maps and all that kind of stuff.
I would actually try to think that because Cloud9 know that CLG has a ringer, Cloud9, we've seen at the last couple of events, Cloud9 have been playing Overpass, Cloud9 have been playing Train, Cloud9 even played Mirage against TSM.
Cobblestone as well.
Cobblestone as well. So I would expect Cloud9 to kind of use that and be like, okay, well, a Pug against another American team that, definitely knows Dust 2 Inferno Cash, why would we play them on it? Let's drop it, let's make them play a custom map, which obviously they've had no time to prepare for. Just kind of roll with it from there.
I agree. That's actually, if you're, in terms of game theory, if you're the superior team, like a top 5 team in the world, a world-class team, usually that means you've got a wider map pool. You don't want to just play a map that you're really good on, but is one of their better maps. You want to actually use the map pool against those guys. So you want to be getting away from that Cash, that Inferno Dust 2. You want to be going towards Cobblestone, Overpass, if possible, because especially without a strat caller, it's going to be almost impossible to win rounds on T side of Overpass without a real strat caller. It's very hard to pug that map. Especially, it's not even that you don't have a strat caller, you're playing with someone you haven't played with before. Now, in terms of CLG, they're a team where I actually think they're one of the, in terms of the top NA teams, they're one of the ones where I'd have said it's not going to work out well to have the in-game leader disappear. If you take Liquid, take a Dren out of the mix, a lot of those players tend to play quite individualistically anyway. They can probably get away with it to a degree. Same with some of the others. Now, you're talking about a team like CLG. They had a very defined style of play. Now, you can debate the effectiveness of it. I didn't think it was so good versus Europeans. That's why they've done quite poorly in general. But it all came from Finesse. He was the guy who set up how it was played. Everyone had kind of set roles. And I know people like Kotler, for example, they really shined within that system. That's why they would look really good. So make it more of a pugging match. And actually, in a weird way, I think one of the problems for this team is I never thought of CLG as the team that has all the aimers. To me, like Tarek, I think is a very skilled player, a very good aimer. But once you get past him, I don't think they've got that many good aimers. Like Kotler, who I just mentioned there, is one of the best players in their team, but he's more of like an all-around player. Very passive, plays certain spots. He knows how he's going to hold an angle. They're not really the sort of team who've got all the wild aimers where you can just play pure free-for-all and just hope you headshot everyone. And Cloud9's got better aimers than them, obviously. They've got Skadoodle, they've got Shroud, they've got nothing.
I actually might disagree with you a little bit. I know watching them play, like Tarek used to stream their matches, and something I noticed is like, yes, FNS calls like most of the strats, but all of them actually call at the same time. Like, if Tarek thinks they're coming B, he'll actually overcall FNS and say, okay, come B. And they're kind of known, at least in the American scene, for being the team that over-rotates a lot. And it's not FNS that always calls that. It definitely is all of them kind of having their own input. So I think their T sides definitely are going to be struggling, but their CT sides might actually be better without having, that main structure that everybody overcalls.
I do think actually in a weird way as well that not having the in-game leader might actually give some more parity to this particular matchup, because one of the things about Cloud9 is that they're amazing at anti-stratting, and when Shongers has 10 hours to look at your demos, see all your tendencies, then all he has to do in the game is kind of figure out which of the 3 or 4 rounds you likely do now. That's not going to happen if you free-for-all it. If you just go into spots and take an aim duels, you actually take that equation out of the mix to some sense. The problem is, even if you're going to spots where he can't necessarily read what you're going to do, you're going to have to be able, once you get there, to kill Skadoodle when he's got the AWP there. If you get into a site, Shroud's going to be sat there waiting to spray you all down. So it's a lot easier said than done in that sense. Like, you're still going to have the aim level to play that style, that loose style.
No, yeah, another thing to talk about is just CLG's like their opper. I mean, they have JDM, who is their primary opper, but for my team, Sinks was also the primary opper. So it's going to be interesting to see whether JDM is the one who gets dropped ops, or if Sinks is like, okay, just give me the opper, we'll try to double op sometimes.
Let's be real though, the problem with this is, okay, I've talked previously when I was talking about Guardian, for an AWPer, a dedicated AWPer, he also she's got above average rifles. Now Skadoodle I actually think's got either totally average for a top pro or even not that great amongst the great AWPers. His rifles aren't very good, but the key thing is you give him AWPs all day long, so even because he's got money. The problem is, when you're saying here, do they just not give JDM the AWP? He is terrible without the AWP. his opening's pretty good, actually. He's not a bad little upset potential player. He could get it going with Skadoodle. He's a guy who's played him a lot. But if he has to go to rifles, that's not going to work out well. So if I'm them, I'm definitely not doing that route. I'm going to say Sanks, you can secondary AWP sometimes, but we've got to stick with JDM, because to me, the whole point of having JDM in the team is to have the AWPer. That's what they tried to have that with Peter before. It didn't always work. So I think you have to have him be the AWPer.
No, I definitely would. I think I agree with that. And also, Sanks for my team, he definitely will sometimes just buy an AK and just run in and try to entry. And sometimes you see like glimpses of Olaf where he'll run in, kill 3, and will win the round easily. Well,
I think that's good though for CLG, because one of the problems CLG had is they have so many passive players. Like, listen, Tarek's skills, if he wants to be that entry guy, he can do it tomorrow, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to be a lurker, he wants to be the guy who takes the 1v3, he wants to be the mid-round player. They all want to do that though. All the best players in their team are the passive players. So, listen, if you want to play a free-for-all style, this guy who's coming in as a sub, let him just go in first. Also, by the way, that negates having to have really complicated strats. If you're just the entry man, people trigger off you. You don't have to do some complicated thing where you follow a guy up with a flash, or you trade frag effectively, the timing of that guy and when he's going to do it. You can take that out of the equation if you just make it very simple CS. I go in first, you follow up behind me, just trade off me if I die.
Yep.
Kind of want to get back to Cloud9 a little bit. Obviously you played with him, but you're a pro player in your own right. They've come off of a month of being an underdog team and doing quite well, obviously. 3 finals, but not a lot of pressure when you're that underdog, right? Especially, we're always underdogs in North America, but now they come in literally the opposite. Of the guys that you played with, and obviously you know all the players on the team, do you think this helps him or hurt them? Because, when you got nothing to lose, that can be the best feeling to have going into a match. This is not that case.
No, yeah, I think people like Skadoodle, people like Shroud definitely kind of strive under the pressure. I think they'll play the same whether it's the finals match or the first match of group stages. The question is, how is Sean going to actually react to having that extra pressure? Historically when I was on the team, we always we had like an easy group stage, and then when we hit like the semifinals, always against NIP, that's usually when things started to fall apart. So obviously this is a new team now. Sean, I think, is playing worlds better than what he was before, and he's able to really predict how the other team plays a lot better than he used to. So I think the added pressure definitely hurts them a little bit, but I don't think it's going to affect them against CLG.
Okay, so no implosion because of that pressure at all, probably.
Probably not in the first match, no.
Okay, and while we're waiting, guys, obviously the teams are just still setting up. The players have to warm up, all that stuff. We just cleared the stage of the first 2 matches. So again, players aren't waiting for us. Thorin, I know you've got some stats over there on the Virtus Pro match. Is that over yet? What's up with that?
I thought I'd give you a little update. It's still going on map 2. Here's what's interesting. Map 1 was Train. VP won that comfortably, 16-9. But hey, Tempo Storm got 9 rounds. They did start CT. Map 2's Cash. And at the moment, it's only 13-11 to VP. And Tempo Storm is on CT side. So that could be a game going all the distance. Maybe we're going to see 3 maps there. And obviously, thinking of Cash, 2 things. One, that was the Virtus Pro map towards the end of last year. They were the first European team to become a great team on that map. But saying that, there's also a history now of upsets, because last tournament, they got 16-0'd by Kingwin on that map on Cash. Yeah. So hey, maybe Virtus Pro's showing some weakness there. Hey, maybe Tempo Storm's going to shock the world and take a map from Virtus Pro.
I know for me personally, historically, and every time I've played Virtus Pro in an event, it's almost always been on Cash. And we split it usually 50-50.
Yeah.
So maybe that says, maybe Virtus Pro doesn't match up well on specifically Cash against American teams. And, maybe if this goes distance, we can actually make that conclusion.
3rd map will be Cobblestone now,
yeah.
Which is, it's going to be a strong Virtus Pro map there. It's going to be hard for Tempo Storm. Then again, I don't know what Tempo Storm's like on Cobblestone. Maybe they've got something we don't know.
I actually can say I played them 2 nights ago with my team on it, and they actually were pretty solid on it. So it
was
might
your
be a
team
close
though.
one.
So
it was my team. That's true. That's true.
When it's one thing if you're fighting Vladimir Klitschko. If you're fighting your little brother, though, So,
wow.
Just,
okay. All right, Thorin.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
See, we're used to having Richard Lewis, and we can't jab him you bring a whole new set of ammunition to Thorin. It's awesome.
That's all right.
But you can give it back. You know that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're just getting into it now.
All right, you're setting him up.
We're going to warm up to that, Scoots.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get back to this match. Thank you for the update on VP. So again, that might go 3. I'm trying to think of
Here's something
storyline
here's something that I think is interesting. Okay, I feel like CLG has gone under the radar with this lineup at the moment. Okay, admittedly not the one that had Finesse in it instead of Sanks, because what's weird is people forget they came top 4 at ESL ESEA Pro League. Now, how did they do that? Admittedly, yes, it's because they beat Fnatic. They beat Fnatic on Mirage, a very good Fnatic map. But that was only a best of one, okay? And then they benefited from TSM getting upset also by Keyd Stars. So amazingly, in the winners match, they only had to play Keyd Stars, which was the team from their region. So they won that match and secured themselves a top 4. Actually, the biggest prize money tournament in the history of CSGO. Like, the final had more money there than the majors. But the problem was, when they got to that semi-final, they had to play Cloud9. Now, what's funny is you can kind of, in a way, you can downplay Cloud9 and go, well, they only had to play CLG there. But they smashed CLG. Like, the ridiculous scores. I think the CLG guys were, like, way off even getting into double digits on both the maps. So you saw that they benefited from the best of one phase, but then they couldn't hang with elite level teams when they were best of 3. Now, this whole tournament's going to be best of 3. So I want to see there. Maybe they can still be explosive on one map. But if they're not even at full strength, it's going to be very hard in this group to beat a Cloud9, and I want to see them against Mouse later, hopefully. I hope that matchup at some point in this group stage happens.
I think it's also worth mentioning that CLG went from being like a purely online team to actually moving into a gaming house. And I think that's kind of what motivated their improvement. But again, like, they don't have their fifth. They have a stand-in. They've been traveling now for a while now. And they're playing against a team that's historically given them probably the worst problems out of any other American team.
Right now, Freakazoid looks like, you know when your mum suddenly comes into the room when you didn't expect it to, and you try and like close down that browser and you click in the wrong things all of a sudden? Yeah, he knows. He knows. He knows. He knows.
I love you, Freak.
Listen, you know, mate.
Yeah, baby. Okay. Wait, that's not a...
He wants me to do the diamond cutter on him. I'll come up there if you want.
Okay. Oh. Shots fired? I don't know. They love you, Thorin. Cloud9, I think, really, really loves you.
Listen, they respect me.
They do.
They think I'm a mind for the game, you know. I break it down in interesting fashion. I help them out, actually. What happens after every tournament, I tell them everything they did wrong and where they need to improve.
They've been listening.
That's the service I sell.
Improving. Yeah. They're improving.
If anything, thank me. I always used to tell them in the last place, you're terrible, got to fix this, get an entry fragger, like you're not using nothing correctly. They fixed it all, Scott, so in many ways, I'm the coach of Cloud9.
I'm the coach now.
Yeah, I'm the coach now. So.
Oh, boy.
I'm just going to stay out of this.
No.
I even did him a favor. I told Hiko, no, definitely leave Cloud9. Like, listen, things will be better for you in the super team, I bet power. So I helped everyone out, actually. We're all in a better place.
Except for me.
Yeah.
You're on the desk now getting paid sick money like me just to talk nothing. It's better, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Big and no stress. Well, no stress, yeah.
I just have
No stress. No stress at all, mate. It's all banter.
Yeah,
Japes.
it's all banter.
Jokes, guys.
Banter.
Jokes.
We've already went over this. Banter doesn't exist in the U.S.
People have a hard time understanding banter.
Wait a minute. You mean everyone's been taking everything I've been saying seriously?
Always. And
Oh, my
Every
goodness.
time.
That's why Freakazoid was angry. Oh.
That's why he's mad at you.
I don't really think he's Roy dead. It's jokes, mate.
Jokes, mate. Banter.
All jokes, yeah.
Banter. All right, so we're going to get vetoes. They haven't started them yet. You basically said, veto-wise, Cloud9 should go with the not standards, if you will. Any reason why that would change?
You could, hey, listen, ego. This team doesn't even have their in-game leader. Let's just smash them again. We wrecked them when they had their proper team. Let them play the maps they want. Sometimes that happens. I've seen teams do that before. Nip does it famously. They give the opponent the best maps as if to say, like, we're going to crush your morale even more if we win now because you're getting to play the maps you wanted, but we're going to beat you anyway. In a way, you could do that now just to show, like, hey, listen, forget like first, second place. There's us, and then who cares where everyone else is? Just us. No one's in contention with us.
I don't think I would agree with that just because of how Sean calls the strats, trying to counter-strat them. I mean, we know NIP likes to do that. C9 is definitely not that kind of team. They're definitely going to take what would be the easier route if there is an easier route. So, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be the custom maps.
So then you wouldn't even use this opportunity to let one of your lesser maps be in for practice? Like, that confidence isn't there that, okay, we're not good at that map, but we'll still beat them. We need the practice for...
I mean, how can you be confident against a team that doesn't have their 5, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're literally just like a pug right now. They're going to have no strats. They're going to be running around trying to take aim battles. And if Cloud9 has strats to smoke people off and molly people out, they're going to have no chance.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we come back. We'll get the map vetoes going. We'll delve into how it works out and who's going to win this next matchup. Cloud9, CLG, after the break.
They